Hey everyone, Rich Gasaway here. In this episode, I'm going to summarize my observations and lessons learned from attending the International Fire Department Instructors Conference in Indianapolis this week. This is my 20th year presenting at FDIC and my 38th time that I have attended this conference. And while I'm at it, I might as well give you a quick story from my very first FDIC. It was 1980. I was a student at West Virginia University, and one of the professors there who was teaching in the fire science program, a young lad just out of Florida who had moved up to West Virginia named Kirby Kiefer, was quickly becoming a friend and a mentor to me. And in the early spring of 1980, he asked me, how would you like to go to Memphis, Tennessee and attend a fire conference? And I had never heard of the FDIC. I was so new in the fire service that it didn't quite register to me as to what it was he was going to be introducing me to. And so we went to Memphis, and the conference was awesome. But the story I want to tell is something that happened when we were at our hotel, and it was one of those hotels where when you leave your room, you actually go outside onto a kind of a landing, and then walk along the rail and then down the steps. So I'm sure there's a special name for that kind of construction, but it was just a 2-story hotel with external exits to the outside. So we were in the hotel, and we were sleeping. And I heard sirens, air horns, cues, and they kept getting closer and closer and closer. And then they stopped. And I got up out of bed, and I opened the drapes, and I looked outside, and they were all in the parking lot of our hotel. And I opened up the door, and I smelled smoke. And I went, and I woke Kirby up, and I said, Kirby, the hotel's on fire. And he said, what do you mean? What? And I said, the hotel's on fire. There's fire trucks here and I smell smoke. Of course, I'd woken him up right out of a deep sleep. And he literally rolled over, put his hand on the wall, felt up and down on the wall, and said, the wall's cold, kid. Go back to bed. It was just a testament as to how cool of a cucumber this dude was. And of course, I wasn't going back to bed. I got dressed. I left the room, and walked along the sidewalk there and around the corner. And sure enough, there was a engine company and truck company from Memphis Fire dragging a burning mattress out of the room, throwing it over the balcony and down into the parking lot below, where the engine crew then quickly extinguished the fire. But that was my experience and introduction to the first FDIC in 1980 with now the Deputy Superintendent of the National Fire Academy, Dr. Kirby Kiefer. Yeah, our friendship has been ongoing for 38 years. How special is that? Thank you, Kirby, for dragging this kid along to a conference that would become one of the most special events that I go to every year. Now, if you're new to this podcast, welcome aboard. If you've been with us for a while, well, thanks for coming along on the ride. The SA Matters show is the longest consecutive running, independently hosted, safety-focused podcast show on the internet. We're very close to crossing over 300,000 downloads on the podcast and 700,000 downloads on our YouTube channel. And our subscriber base just keeps growing. I'm very appreciative for the gift of time that you're going to give me to be with me on the show today. So let's jump right into it. My observations and lessons learned from FDIC. Roll that SA Matters intro. Today's episode is sponsored by Midwest Fire. For more than 20 years, Midwest Fire has been manufacturing high-quality tankers, tanker pumpers,
and fire rescue vehicles in the United States and Canada. Keeping firefighters safe while enhancing their capabilities is what they do best. To learn more, go to MidwestFire.com.
This is Fire Chief William Ball from the Williamsport Fire and EMS, and you're listening to SA Matters Radio with Dr. Richard Gasaway. The SA Matters mission is simple. They want to help us see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes.
Hello and welcome to episode 210 of the Situational Awareness Matters show. I'm your host, Rich Gasaway, and in this episode I'm going to share my observations and lessons learned from FDIC International 2018. The purpose of this show is to improve situational awareness and decision-making for individuals and teams who work in high-risk, high-consequence, time-compressed environments with changing conditions. From the start, the SA Matters mission has always been a simple one, but definitely not an easy one. To help you see the bad things coming in time to avoid bad outcomes. If you work in a high-risk, high-consequence environment, then I'm here for you, to offer you a message of hope and a message of inspiration. I'm dedicated to improving your safety and your survival and to helping you accomplish the most important goal of all, to go home to the ones who love you. And speaking of sharing the message, today I'm coming to you from Indianapolis, Indiana, home of the International Fire Department Instructors Conference. More than 35,000 first responders and vendors from around the world make the pilgrimage here each year to learn and share fellowship. It is so exhilarating to meet up with hundreds of fellow instructors, former students of my classes, and friends I have made over the past 40 years. Thank you to all the staff at Penwell and Fire Engineering for your exceptional work to provide first responders with the very best conference experience imaginable. One of the questions I get asked a lot by readers of the blog and listeners and viewers of this show are, when are you coming to my area, or where are you going to be next? That's a great question, and I've made the answer really easy to find out. There's a link on the homepage of the SA Matters website for the upcoming events. Just click on the blue box on the right side of the homepage labeled Live Training Dates. In today's feature segment, I'm going to share my observations and some lessons learned from FDIC. This is something new. I don't know why I never thought about doing this in the previous years, but I'm glad I thought of it this year because I've got a lot to share. All right, let's jump into our feature segment, Observations and Lessons Learned from FDIC. FDIC 2018 was another outstanding conference experience. I got to teach a class on Wednesday from 1:30 to 3:15 called Flawed Situational Awareness Lightning Round. For anybody who's been in one of the programs, you know for me to teach situational awareness, it takes a full day to teach what it is, how it's developed, how it can go wrong, and best practices for what you can do to counteract or overcome some of the most challenging barriers to situational awareness. But in the format of conferences, rarely do I ever have a whole day to be able to share that. And here I had an hour and 45 minutes. So in that hour and 45 minute segment, I shared basically the foundations of what situational awareness is and how it's developed. And then I shared about a dozen barriers to situational awareness. We talked about things like pre-arrival lens, auditory exclusion, sensory conflict, time distortion, fear, sensory overload, tunnel vision, and about a dozen barriers to awareness. The attendance for the class was outstanding. Had probably, I didn't count them up, but I'd guess maybe somewhere between 125 and 150 attendees. And the best part about doing a class is that when the class is over, then for the rest of the conference, when I'm in the hallways or on the show floor, people will come up and talk with me about the class, ask questions, just give me some really nice feedback about how much they enjoyed the presentation. And I can't explain it. It just makes me feel like a rock star. I mean, it just feels good. And so for everybody who stopped me and said thanks for the program, I really, really appreciate you taking the time to do that. On the show floor, there were about 800 vendors. If you can imagine there being 800 plus products to share with us, and those vendors filled up the convention center and the entire stadium of Lucas Oil, and that unto itself is an impressive thing to see. Now, as I make my way around, I pay particularly close attention to those vendors who make claims that their products create situational awareness. Now, I've written about this on my blog because it is one of my hot topic issues, that vendors would go as far as to say that they create products that create situational awareness. In nearly every one of those circumstances, they really don't develop situational awareness, because situational awareness happens inside the mind of an individual. And most of these companies that make these claims are very often vendors of software, and usually incident management software. And I just can't help myself from stopping and having conversations with these people. And usually it goes something like, so you say your product creates situational awareness. What does that mean? And then they go through an explanation of all the product features and benefits without actually answering the question. And after I give them that opportunity to go on for 15 or 20 minutes, then I'll circle back to the original question, and I'll say, yeah, but what does it mean when it says it creates situational awareness? What is situational awareness? And then they'll go through the tirade of the products and the features again. And usually I'll stop them from taking me through the full explanation the second time and say, no, what I'm really looking for is a definition for situational awareness. Can you provide that for me? And in almost every case, they can't. Now, I know I'm talking to a salesperson and not necessarily the person behind the creation of the product. So I give them the benefit of the doubt there. But if you're going to sell a product at a conference and literally have it plastered on the backdrop of your conference booth that your product creates situational awareness, then you should fully expect that if I'm there and I pass your booth and I see it, I'm going to stop and I'm going to bring some accountability to that, as I did for one particular vendor, and I won't give the name, but I will tell you that what they do is they make station alerting equipment. And I have here in front of me, I'll fan it so you can hear the pages. It's almost like on cardboard stock, a 23-page, very beautiful, glossy, full color brochure about their product. And this was one of the companies that had the full backdrop behind them, and it said, their product creates situational awareness for first responders. So I stopped and had the conversation with them, and sure enough, in the brochure, it actually even says it in the brochure. So it says system benefits, and it has a series of bullet points for the system benefits of peace of mind and savings and speed and wellness. And one of those bullets is their system benefit is situational awareness. So I'm just going to take a moment to read to you what they say how they say that happens. So I'm going to read it verbatim because it doesn't really make much sense to me, and I don't want you to think that I'm leaving anything out of the discussion. So there's a bullet point, and it says situational awareness, and then it says right past that, reviews the success of alerts as they are sent and monitors the status of the system in real time. And that is it. That is the end of their claim about how their product creates or enhances situational awareness, which, I'd like to think I know a little bit about the product. Hold on a second. It says for the fire and medical personnel, that this product increases situational awareness and mental preparedness with clear, concise vocalization of the alert, which helps the units respond more quickly and efficiently. Well, I truly believe that if the dispatch information is clearly and consistently vocalized, it will help the units respond more quickly and efficiently, but it's really quite the stretch to see the situational awareness connection, other than they'll get the right address and the nature of the call to go to. So to this company, boo to you for trying to ride on the tails of a concept of situational awareness and selling your station alerting products to those attending FDIC. In addition to making my way around the show floor, I also did 3 book signings at the Fire Engineering Books and Video booth. I wrote a book for them a few years ago called Situational Awareness for Emergency Response. And that book's really, I would say, the Bible about how to develop and maintain situational awareness. I've self-published 4 other books on the topic as well, but this is probably the most comprehensive, easiest read of all the books. In fact, there are many departments that use this book in their promotional reading list. And so we did 3 book signings, sold a lot of books, and signed a lot of books as well. So thanks to everybody who stopped by the book signings just to say hello or to buy a book. And of course, as you're walking the halls of FDIC, there are multiple bagpiper bands, pipe and drum bands that are traversing around the floor playing some awesome bagpipe music and just adding to the whole vibe of the excitement of FDIC. But something really, really, really cool happened during one of the book signings. So just adjacent to where we were doing the book signings, the bagpipers come in and were playing, and I saw they took a couple of pike poles and crossed them over, and there were a bunch of people gathered around. So I really, from where I was at the booth, couldn't see exactly what was going on. So I asked somebody, what's happening? And they said, there's a wedding. 2 people who, again, I'm giving you third-hand information, allegedly or reportedly, had met at FDIC for the first time ever, were now getting married at FDIC. And the bagpipers were part of the wedding. They played the music. And as the bride and groom, they created like an aisle for the bride and the bridesmaids and the grooms and the groomsmen, and essentially conducted a full-on wedding on the not in the exhibit floor, but in the hallway outside the exhibits for FDIC. So I don't know who they were, but congratulations to them, and here's wishing you many, many more successful and happy FDIC experiences. I also recorded a podcast for Fire Engineering. I host a show for Fire Engineering on Blog Talk Radio. It's called The Rich Gasaway Show, and it's on, about every 3 weeks on a Tuesday night. You can check their schedule for that. And basically, I do the same thing there that I do here, as I talk about situational awareness, high-risk decision-making, occasionally have a guest on, that kind of thing. But they also video casted that podcast on Google Hangouts. And I want to thank those who gave me some nice feedback, who watched the video version on Google Hangouts. I'm guessing it's still out there. But essentially, in a 30-minute segment, I kind of talked about what my class was. So if you wanted to get an idea of what the class was and the things that I shared, I taught a little bit of the lessons from the class during that podcast episode. So you could check that out on Blog Talk Radio, or you could check it out wherever they posted the Google Hangouts. While on the show floor, I got to swing by and visit my awesome, amazing sponsor for this podcast show, Midwest Fire. They displayed 2 of their fire trucks at the booth. I stopped by to talk to President Sarah Atchison, but she was so busy with customers coming into the booth. They had a great spot, so their booth was really, or not booth, but their space was really, really busy. And so I hung out there for a while and talked with people. And as I talked with people that were walking by, I asked them to come in and take a look at the Midwest Fire apparatus. And so it was nice to visit with Sarah Atchison and Jeff Bowen, who has been is one of their salespeople, and a tremendous individual with a lot of wisdom about how fire trucks are built. And so I hung out with Midwest Fire for a while. And then for the International Society of Fire Service Instructors annual meeting on Friday, I donated 3 of the Situational Awareness Matters books. There's three in the series, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3. And I donated those books. And thank you to the person who won those books for reaching out and thanking me for that donation. I appreciate that. Classes, oh my God, I don't even know how many classes there were. There were hands-on training classes, pre-conference classes, Monday, Tuesday, classroom sessions, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There had to be hundreds, I'll just leave it at that, hundreds of classes, hundreds of special events, concerts, street events, a fool's bash, a 5K walk run, a stair climb, just an amazing amount of events. I had one of the special things is in the evening you get to have dinner and usually join up with people, and I had some nice dinners with friends, including Bart Van Leven from Amsterdam Fire. I was there last October and presented programs for Amsterdam Fire, and I got the chance to meet up with Bart and join him for dinner and have some nice discussions. From my program, I've received 23 program inquiries about hosting programs at different departments and other conferences. So thank you to those who inquired about follow-ups for programs. I appreciate that. I also want to congratulate Billy Goldfeder for winning the Tom Brennan Lifetime Achievement Award. For those who, I'm sure if you're in the fire service, you probably know the name Billy Goldfeder in the secret list. And I've been a long-time subscriber to the secret list, and I frequently visit his website, firefightersclosecalls.com, which really aligns nicely with the mission of what we're trying to do here, and that is share the lessons of close calls and near misses. And so we're kind of aligned in the mindset of get that information out there to for people to learn from. And then also to Paul Combs, who won the George D. Post Instructor of the Year Award. And Paul is a fabulously gifted illustrator. And you'll see his illustrations in the fire engineering magazines and on the fire engineering website. And just phenomenal, because he has a way of using illustrations to spark discussions and conversations about really important issues that first responders face, from safety to mental health and wellness to leadership. Congratulations, Paul. I'm a huge, huge fan of your work. But so in some of the classes, and I just jotted down some notes here in some of the classes and discussions that I had with people, some things that I learned from the attendees. So one of them was that a firefighter was telling me a story about some firefighters that died in a structural collapse, but they were not on the inside, they were on the outside. And ironically, they had blocked this alley off with caution tape, like we use to keep civilians out of spaces we don't want them to. We'll block off the area with usually yellow caution tape, and they had determined that because of the way this building was constructed, that the wall that went along this roadway was a collapse hazard, and it was a rather large fire, and they blocked off the front of the street with caution tape. And a group of firefighters, and I forget how many he said died, but it was 3 or 4, wanted to get from the front of the building to the back of the building. And when they came up to the caution tape, they do what I've seen so many firefighters do so many times. They lifted that caution tape and went right underneath it, as if to think, situational awareness, that caution tape is for the civilians, to keep the viewing public from going down this roadway, but not us, the firefighters. We're exempt from having to follow the restrictions of caution tape. And they went under the caution tape and down the road, and just as they did it, the building, that side of the building collapsed and killed some of the firefighters. So from that, what they learned, which I thought was amazing, and maybe there's some fire departments out there that are doing this now. But if you're not, consider this a situational awareness best practice. They got a different color of caution tape to mean that it's no entry for firefighters. So they hypothetically, we would have yellow caution tape that we would block an area off for citizens, and then red caution tape, or maybe red and white striped caution tape, as the indicator that this is a no-go zone, even for firefighters. So when the firefighters see that red and white caution tape, there's no, the message is no passing this. This is a no-go area even for firefighters. And I would bet that out there are a lot of fire departments who have but one color caution tape, and there are a lot of firefighters who would lift that yellow caution tape and go right under it, as if to think that caution tape is mostly for other people, or is for other people and not for the firefighters. So as I was talking to someone else about an incident that they had, this incident was one that cross-sected multiple counties, because the incident happened right on the border of one county to another county. And it was an accident that resulted in multiple injuries and even some fatalities. And the one of the takeaways was that not all the dispatch centers, or what he called PSAPs, public safety answering points, not all of the PSAPs were on the same page of understanding as to what different terminology means. In other words, level 1 mass casualty incident to one PSAP center meant a certain type of response, but a level 1 mass casualty incident to another PSAP in another county meant something completely different. So this really caused some challenges with the response, and knowing what was coming, and the expectations about what was coming, and delays in response that were coming. And so the really important takeaway here is to just like we might train with mutual aid or auto aid departments, is to have some training and common understanding among the various PSAPs of adjoining counties where they might have to integrate and play well together on an incident that would transcend various counties. In other words, it's a big assumption, a big leap to think that the PSAPs are all plugged into each other and all use the same terminology and all have the same type of training, because that simply was not the case there. And then I attended a program where a firefighter had been involved in an incident that resulted in firefighters being injured at a fire incident. And I wanted to just share a couple observations that he made from this residential fire incident. One of them was that when they made entry, they had left their thermal imager at the truck. And that ended up proving to be very challenging for them because they needed the thermal imager. And the lesson is that, you know, what we do in habit day in and day out on every call is going to come to roost when we need it most. And a lot of calls they go to, they don't need the thermal imager, so they don't grab the thermal imager. And here was this significant call, and the thermal imager was left on the truck instead of going in with them. And because they were rather focused on getting their hose line advanced, they didn't take the thermal imager with them and advanced up to the second floor, and that proved to be a challenge for them. He also said that one of the very important lessons learned is that what he saw from the outside when he did his initial size up didn't match what he was seeing from the inside. And that would be a very significant clue or cue in the formation of situational awareness, is when the puzzle pieces that you gather on the exterior don't match the puzzle pieces that you see on the interior, then you should start asking yourself questions about why this is. What's the variation, and why don't the pieces fit, and what is happening now? What is happening based on what I see from the inside, and how that is different from the outside, and try to gather some meaning to that. He also made the note, which I thought was extremely important, is that by the time they called their Mayday, it was too late. That they should have called the Mayday earlier and got the help to them sooner. And I think that is a very important takeaway and lesson, is that when, you know, the minute you sense that you're in an imperiled situation, they tried to get themselves out of it first, and then when they realized they couldn't, then they called the Mayday. And he made that point that that was way too late. When the firefighters did get out of the structure, they were burning. I mean, their gear was burning. They were burning under their gear. And he said one significant lesson that they learned is that the EMS crews did not know how or did not want to cut the turnout gear. And he said that's a takeaway. Cut the turnout gear. Teach people how to cut the turnout gear off with the big type of rescue shears or whatever the means is. But he said it was really important to cut the gear off. One of the firefighters was trapped in a bathroom, a master bathroom with big windows. So they figured, well, just break the windows out and bail out. Well, the windows had a product called Herculite glass, which is non-breakable glass in this corner area where this kind of like hot tub was in the master. And the reason that it was non-breakable glass is if you're in the tub and you slip and fall and your hand goes against the glass, it doesn't break the glass. It's non-breakable glass. But that caused a significant challenge for this firefighter who was in that bathroom because he was trying to break that glass and could not get it broken. And in fact, what was shared with me is that firefighter then gave up and realized, this is it. This is where it ends for me. And he sat down and he thought about his family, and he got back up again. He got really angry, got back up again, and found another found another window in the master bedroom and bailed out. Now, this concept of firefighters giving up in those imperiled situations is not new to me, and if you're a listener of this podcast, it's not new to you either, because there have been numerous episodes where I have interviewed people who've been in near-miss scenarios, and by their own admission, right on the podcast, gave up, sat down, thought about their family or thought about how they would be judged if they died. Something gave them that last burst of inspiration, and then they got themselves out. And the same thing happened here. This particular fire department's incident resulted in 64 recommendations for the fire department and 8 recommendations for EMS. 34 of those recommendations have been completed, and 33 of them are partially completed already, including making sure that they now have 2 in and 2 out, that they do 360s on incidents where at this incident they didn't do a 360. They now require command competency training for all of their command level officers. They're practicing now transitional attacks of knocking the fire down from the outside when it makes sense to do that, and then obtaining supplemental call information from dispatch. In this particular incident, the dispatch had much more information than they were sharing with the responding units, and their dispatch center was one where there's a call taker and a dispatcher, and you hear the 911 call come into the call taker with a lot of information being shared by the neighbor. But for whatever reason, that information either didn't get passed on from the call taker to the dispatcher, or didn't get passed from the dispatcher to the responding units, and it played a role in the outcome of this incident. The crews responding did not have as good of situational awareness as if the dispatcher would have shared appropriate information from the neighbor. For example, the neighbor said the fire was on the first floor, and when these firefighters got there, the fire was through the roof already, and didn't quite realize that the fire had started on the first floor because they didn't do the 360, which is all part of it as well. And the neighbor also said that the house was unoccupied, and they arrived and didn't know that, and treated it as possibly somebody being home. It was on a holiday weekend in the middle of the day, and that contributed to it as well. This firefighter who gave this presentation also stated that overconfidence led to complacency, because he had said to himself when he arrived, I've seen this fire 1,000 times before, and in fact, that every fire is unique and requires its own original size up and be treated as the unique fire that it is. So those are briefly my lessons learned from FDIC 2018. I've got pages and pages and pages and pages of notes, so I can't share them all. I just wanted to give you a taste and a flavor of those things that I experienced when I was there, and hopefully you'll consider attending FDIC 2019 and getting some of those great lessons yourself. I have a favor to ask of you, the listeners and viewers of this show. The primary reason I created this show was to provide a platform for those who've experienced near-miss events to share their stories. The experiences that have been shared here with me on this show have been nothing short of amazing and extremely educational. And I'd like to get more of those lessons learned shared with listeners and viewers. But to do so, I need your help. If you've experienced or witnessed a near-miss event and would like to have a platform to share your lessons learned with others, please contact me by visiting the samatters.com website and clicking on the Contact Us tab at the top of the homepage. Think about it for a moment. The lessons learned from your near-miss event could save someone else's life. That's really, really powerful. What a wonderful gift it would be. If you want to share experience, contact me. I arranged 6 interviews just from students in my class at FDIC. That's what it's all about, folks. Stepping up, giving back, and making a huge difference. Thank you in advance to those who are going to be my future guests. As I said, I had about somewhere between 125 and 150 students in my class at FDIC, and 91 of them took time to complete the evaluation. And for that, I'm thankful. And so some of the evaluations, I took a couple of pictures of some of the evaluations, and I just want to share a few of the pieces of the feedback that I got from. So here's one that said, fantastic stuff. It really could have been a longer class, and I absolutely agree with you. It definitely could have been a longer class, but that's the format of conferences like that. Here's another one that said, great class, Rich. Thanks for your contribution. Keep up the great work, and thank you for that. And here's one that said, boy, I got to be able to read the writing. This was a phenomenal presentation, and then made a recommendation that I moderate a panel of near-miss survivors. That would be quite an amazing panel discussion of bringing near-miss survivors up and allowing me to moderate discussions with them about their situational awareness and their high-risk decision-making. And this person then also gave a shout-out about the podcast, and they said it was entertaining and full of good information, so thank you to that person for sharing that as well. And then on LinkedIn, one of the attendees said, I attended your session on situational awareness at FDIC. It was a great class, and I'm looking forward to delving deeper into the topic of situational awareness. Thanks so much for your passion, dedication, and willingness to share with the fire service. And thank you for sharing that. And then there was that guy. You know that guy? Yeah, I had that guy in my class. I can't say for sure, but I think I have a pretty good idea who that guy was who gave me the really, really crappy evaluation. 90 of them were amazing. All top rated evaluation on the various criteria. And then there was that guy. You see, and how do I think I know who he was? Well, there was this one person who came in late. The program had already been like 15 minutes underway, so he missed completely my introduction and my backstory of who I was and where I was from and my educational endeavors and all of that. And he took a chair out of the back row. So all these chairs are lined up in rows. He took a chair out of the back row and moved it back even further up against the rear wall. Because obviously being in the back row wasn't quite back far enough for that guy. So he wanted to stand out and let everybody know he's that guy who sits in the furthest possible physical space away from the presenter. He sat through the entire program with a posture of disgust and with his arms folded. Oh, except, of course, when he was texting, he unfolded his arms to text. Of course, you gotta do that. And then when he left, I had to clean up the mess around his chair. He left a coffee cup, a water bottle, and a whole bunch of candy wrappers just strewn about around his space. But of course, I can't really say for sure that this was that guy. It's pure speculation on my part. But anyhow, that guy, you know that guy, yeah. You will have that guy. We know who that guy is. He rated me very poorly on all the aspects of my presentation. He rated me poorly on preparation, like, the low rating is poor. And now, those who know me know that my presentations are pretty well organized. In fact, I've given a variation of this presentation that I did at FDIC at nothing short of 400 times. Seriously, I could do this program with one lip tied behind my back. And he rated me poor on expert knowledge on the topic. Now, I'm not exactly sure what this guy would consider to be an expert. But to this conversation, I brought 35 years of experience working in high-risk, high-consequence environments. And for those who may not know, I got my doctorate doing research in this very topic that I was presenting on. And I've written 5 books on this very topic that I'm presenting on, including the one for Penwell. And anyhow, I would love to understand what the criteria is that guy considers for expertise. But, alas, as you would imagine, he left his name off of the evaluation, and his phone number, and his email. So there really was no way for me to follow up with him. He was just anonymously snipering from the bushes. Now, why do I even take valuable time to share this story? Trust me, it's not because I'm upset about how that guy rated me or what he wrote. I've had that guy evaluate me countless times in the past 25 years of presenting. Rather, I bring this matter to you to offer you encouragement. The instructors out there listening to this show, to push your message hard and not to worry about what that guy thinks of you. Say what needs to be said and do your hard work and give your presentations to make the fire service better. And if you're a presenter and you've not had that guy in your class yet, don't worry, you will. And when you do, here's my advice. First, let's talk about high-quality feedback. Positive, constructive feedback that you get. When you get that, be gracious and thankful for all the feedback that will improve the quality of your program and the quality of your delivery. You'll know it when you see it. The comments from someone who genuinely cares about you being the best that you can be, and not someone who has hatred and or jealousy in their heart, and they just want to throw hate at you. Trust me, ignore that guy and their desire to drag you down to their level of unhappiness. Somewhere along the way, their maturity got stunted. Trust me, these are miserable people. Ignore them. Your program is not for them anyhow. You were there for all those who were inspired by your message and all those who are thankful for having attended your presentation. Okay, if you want to send me feedback about this podcast or my presentations or my teaching style, I'd love to hear from you. Just don't be that guy. Go to samatters.com and click on the Contact Us tab at the top of the homepage and send me your feedback. All right, as I always do, I want to take a moment to thank the companies and organizations and agencies and departments that have hosted situational awareness training for their team members. I do this to show my appreciation to those who put forth the time and effort to organize, advertise, and fund great training on this important topic. Recent Situational Awareness Matters tour stop events included the University of Maryland's National Fire Service Staff and Command Program, Syncrude, Canada, where I am training oil refinery operators, the Louisiana Fire Chiefs Association, where I delivered the keynote and a breakout, the International Association of Fire Chiefs Company Officers Series in Orlando, Florida, the Minnesota Department of Transportation, where I delivered a keynote address for their Employee Development Day. The Bureau of Land Management Leadership Symposium in Billings, Montana. And of course, where I am now at the FDIC in Indianapolis. And by the time this episode airs, I will have also completed a keynote address and a breakout session for the Idaho Fire Chiefs Association Conference in Sun Valley, Idaho. If you're interested in attending an upcoming Situational Awareness Matters Tour Stop event, let me tell you where I'm going to be upcoming. May 1 to 3 in Madison, Georgia, doing programs for the managers of Georgia Pacific. May 5 in Spruce Grove, Alberta. May 10 at the West Virginia Public Safety Expo in Charleston, West Virginia. May 11th, program for the Paramedical Services of Illinois in Chicago, Illinois. May 19th, Greensburg Fire Department in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. May 22, Temperature Specialists in St. Francis, Minnesota. May 24, the iWomen's Conference in Tysons Corner, Virginia. May 26th, the New Brunswick Fire Chiefs Association Conference in Fredericton, New Brunswick. And then May 29th, back at Temperature Specialists in St. Francis, Minnesota. If you're interested in seeing the locations of all the upcoming Situational Awareness Matters Tour Stop events, head over to the SA Matters website and click on that blue box I told you about earlier, labeled Live Training Dates. Keep in mind that dates are always changing and the calendar is always changing, so check back often. If you're interested in hosting a Situational Awareness Matters Tour Stop program for your department or association or region, just click on the SA, go to the SA Matters page and click on the Contact Us tab. I already have 80 plus programs scheduled for 2018, and that means there's only a few dates left. So here's a heads up. 2018 filled up much faster than I ever expected, and this is causing me to now start booking even some programs into 2019 sooner than I expected, which means the 2019 dates are also going to fill up quicker than they have in the past. So don't get me wrong, this is a great problem to have, but it's also a frustrating problem to have because I know that there are departments that are going to want to get some training in 2018, and there may not be the dates that they're interested in hosting. If you are flexible on your dates, then the more flexibility you have, then the more likely I will be able to accommodate your request, even in 2018, as long as you have flexible dates. I've also trained 2 master instructors, and I'm in the process of training more. These are individuals who possess a great deal of experience working as decision makers in high-risk, high-consequence environments, and not just in public safety, but also in industry, medicine, aviation, military, utilities, and more. Yep, the message is growing, and so is my team of expert presenters. So if you know someone who possesses expertise in one of those above-mentioned fields, and they already are an accomplished presenter and author, not necessarily a book, but articles for magazines and things, and who might have an interest in joining my team, ask them to reach out to me through the SA Matters website, Contact Us tab. If you're interested in hosting a program and saving some money, you can do that by being a companion program. Companions are programs that I do on adjoining days to already existing programs. So if you look at my calendar and you see I'm going to be somewhere within a few hours of where you're located and you want to host a companion program, then you can save some money on the travel costs, and it can be up to about 20% of the program cost that you can save by being a companion. So if you're interested in that, again, this is the Contact Us tab. All right, the last time I delivered programs in Southwest Minnesota, I stopped by to visit the sponsor of this podcast show, Midwest Fire. Midwest Fire is a fire truck manufacturing company that makes amazing all-poly-bodied fire apparatus, and it's changing the industry. If you haven't checked them out yet, you need to. Just go to MidwestFire.com. That's MidwestFire.com. Anyhow, while I was there, I got a chance to sit down and talk to some of their employees about what separates Midwest Fire from their competitors. Here I asked about their Create a Spec feature. Let's listen in. All right, Dalton. So a lot of the people who attend my programs are volunteer firefighters who have full-time jobs and full-time lives and raising their kids and working second jobs and doing the fire department, and clearly their time is stretched. So how, if they had an interest in a Midwest Fire apparatus, how do they reach you, and what's the process? I mean, how difficult is this? How much time is this going to take if they want to learn more about how to build a Midwest fire truck?
Well, that's a good question. We try and make it as easy as possible because a lot of our customers, if not the majority of our customers, are volunteer firefighters, and they do have a hard time of finding time in a day to reach out to us. So if you ever go to our website and you're searching around and you really want to talk to us but you just can't get on the phone, we have a couple ways of doing this. The first part is we actually have a call request button where you can go on there, you can click on it, you can tell us when and what number to call you on at the best time. That's really easy for us to reach out at the moment you want us to, when you're best available. The second thing is we do a Create a Spec. So on our website, you can actually click a button that's called Create a Spec, and you can build the truck that you are trying to spec out. And what that does, it doesn't give you the full truck, it doesn't give you a price, but it sends us a specification in-house. So what we can do with that is we can have your information to call you with, but before that, we have a spec in hand. We can make notes. We can start developing some ideas. So when we call you, it's an efficient call. It doesn't take up a lot of your time, and it's in the right moment.
And this Create a Spec, is there like drop-down options? Like, you know, I'm guessing like when I purchased fire trucks, sometimes I didn't even know what I wanted, and sometimes I didn't even know the options of what were available. So is this kind of talk me through, you know, the different decisions that need to be made in developing a spec? Because I would guess that there are people out there that would be scratching their head saying, I'm not really sure that I know what I need or want. So how interactive is this in walking you through this?
Well, it's a page-by-page process. So we kind of start out with the size of your truck, and we go on to different options. We try to make it as simple as possible for you to get the point across. Basically, what it does is, like I said, it's a page-by-page process. You choose your options. We lead you in a direction that you need to go. So it's not one big page of just a bunch of stuff that you need to choose.
Okay. But there are options listed there to be able to choose from.
Yeah, but you're not writing anything out. There are comment boxes where you can write little comments if you need to, but we give you the options, little drop-down, little check boxes.
Are you, on this Create a Spec, are you getting as specific as to say, I want this first compartment to be so many inches wide by so many inches tall by so many inches deep? Are they getting that in depth in the Create a Spec, or is it something that's just a little simpler that allows them to do kind of like a high level description of what they want in a truck?
It's a little simpler. It's more of a high level idea. When it comes to compartment sizes, that's more for engineering to figure out. But you can, like I said, in the comment boxes, there are sections where you can say, you know, I want high side compartments, I want full height compartments on this side. There's a lot of options for you to choose that.
Okay, so they go to MidwestFire.com, and then on there is a Create a Spec tab or link.
Yep, you'll see one on the top right corner, and if you scroll down the main page, you'll see one underneath our video. There's plenty of options for you to find it. It's just here to catch your eye, and when you see some trucks on our website that you like, feel free to fill one out.
Yep, there you go. Go to MidwestFire.com, check out Create a Spec, and see how easy it is to build a truck and then have a follow-up consultation about your needs. Thank you, Midwest Fire President Sarah Atchison, and all your staff for your awesome commitment to improving the safety of first responders. I really appreciate your support of my mission. If you want to get connected with me and be part of the SA Matters community of learners, there are a couple ways you can do that. There are over 50,000 people connected here through the newsletter membership, podcast subscribers, YouTube subscribers, and by following our Facebook page, Twitter feed, and LinkedIn. On all of these platforms, we share ideas about how to improve situational awareness, how to make better decisions under stress, and how to improve critical thinking and resilient problem-solving skills. So let's start with the newsletter. The newsletter is completely free. The newsletter comes to you in an email once a month. The newsletter contains featured content from the blog, podcasts, and YouTube. And occasionally, I'll offer discounts on my books, videos, virtual training, the online academy, and live events. And those specials are exclusively for newsletter subscribers. The newsletter truly is the best way for us to stay in touch with each other. There are 2 ways you can subscribe to the newsletter. First, if you have a smartphone, you can text SA Matters to 22828. That's the letter S as in Sam, the letter A as in Adam, and the word matters. All together, SA Matters to 22828. I know it doesn't seem like a phone number, but trust me, it works. Just up where you put the phone number where you text somebody, just put 22828. And in the message area, put SA Matters. Be sure to watch your autocorrect on your phone because it might try to change the word SA Matters to something else. If you do it right, you'll get a text message back on your phone to enter your email address. Once you do that, you're all signed up for the newsletter. Now, I know some of you don't have smartphones, and maybe you don't just like to do that texting thing. So here's an alternate way for you to do that. Just swing by the SA Matters website and click on the red box on the right side of the homepage labeled Free Membership. You can subscribe to this podcast by searching SA Matters Radio on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel by searching SA Matters TV, all together one word, SA Matters TV, on YouTube. On Facebook, you can follow SA Matters page on Facebook. On Twitter, you can follow @RichGasaway. On LinkedIn, you can just search for my name, Rich Gasaway. Okay, finally, the SA Matters show and SA Matters TV YouTube channel has enjoyed over 800,000 downloads and views. 800,000. Whew! That makes this show officially the longest running, fastest growing, independently hosted, safety-focused show on the internet. And I'm looking to add an additional sponsor. So if you think your company might be interested in advertising your product or service on this show, contact me. Well, that's it. Episode 210 is complete. Thank you to our awesome sponsor, Midwest Fire. Thank you to the companies, agencies, and organizations that have hosted Situational Awareness Matters programs. Thank you to all of the organizations that have hosted live virtual, which is internet-based training programs. This means I come to your department live over the internet and teach your team about situational awareness and high-risk decision-making, but you save the cost of having me come in person. Thank you to the more than 2,000 students and graduates of the highly acclaimed Situational Awareness Matters online academy. The academy's 14 courses you take online that teaches you everything you need to know about situational awareness and high-risk decision-making, all from the comfort of your computer, whenever, on the time schedule that you set. And most importantly, thank you, the listeners and viewers of this show, for sharing some of your valuable time with me today. I really appreciate your support of the SA Matters mission. Be safe out there, and may the peace of the Lord and strong situational awareness be with you always.
You've been listening to the Situational Awareness Matters radio show with Dr. Richard B. Gasaway. If you are interested in learning more about situational awareness, human factors, and decision-making under stress, visit samatters.com. If you are interested in booking Dr. Gasaway for an upcoming event, visit his personal website at richgasaway.com.